Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. And each and every week we have an episode where we're addressing the things that you need to be aware of in order to have the premier accounting firm in your area. And today is going to be no exception. It's in these podcast episodes that we address various topics ranging from marketing, selling, offering quality accounting services, providing those services with competence, and most importantly, getting you paid what you're worth. So in this process, I've got two guests today, and this is going to be a great discussion. It happens to be Russ and Russ. It's Russ Bradshaw and Russ Anderson. It's with Anderson Bradshaw CPA firm. Now, as for my guests, we're going to be talking about a number of things, mostly about the firm. But first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To be here.
It's good to be,
Yeah. So Russ, let's start with you. First of all, give me a little bit of an insight of who you are, kind of a little bio of sorts, and then Russ, I'll have you do the same.
All right. Russ Anderson. I went to the University of Utah studying accounting for the purpose of being a controller at a family business.
Interesting. Okay.
I did that for 20 years and then made a sideways move to go into public accounting.
Very good.
We sold the family business. I worked with that company, the company that bought us, for a couple of years, and looked into my future and determined that Pittsburgh and Chicago were not in my future. So I had to leave eventually and went backwards. The traditional path is you do public accounting first and then you go into private.
Yeah.
I spent my first career, 20 years, in private accounting, and then went into public accounting after that.
Fascinating.
So I'm kind of backwards, fell into becoming a certified public accountant in public practice by mistake, actually, right?
Non-intentional. That actually works quite a bit. So at some point, I'm going to come back and I'd like to get your perspective on a family business, especially being the controller, learning a little bit more of how that all happened. But Russ, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as well?
Russ Bradshaw. I'm the other half of the Anderson Bradshaw. I started coming out of school with a master's in tax from Brigham Young University, joined one of the big international large CPA firms, spent about 8 years there. And then after I decided that probably wasn't the course I needed to go, I broke out on my own, started my own CPA firm. And 30 years later, here we are at the Anderson Bradshaw firm.
I love it. I love it. So give us a little bit of background as to you were in the larger firms, let's say. Why go out on your own? Why start your own business?
For me personally, I mean, that's a personal decision, but for me personally, it was such an arduous work schedule. The training was phenomenal. I don't know that I could do today what I'm doing without the training I received at the big firm. But at the same time, the work schedule just didn't quite fit what I wanted to do as a growing family. Uh-huh. So I decided to break away and start my own firm, and it was a good move.
So was it out of necessity? Was it something you'd always planned on doing?
It was not what I always planned on doing. It was more of a necessity. I had kids. I was missing t-ball practices. Okay. I was missing piano recitals, and I felt torn between the two, and I just decided to pivot and decide to go with my own firm where I could control the schedule a little bit more.
I like that. Okay, good. So Russ, that brings me to you then.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're in the family business. That was the motivation to become basically an accountant, a controller. And in that process, you see the business grow, it sells, you stick around for a little bit, and then you choose to go, as you described it, from basically a family business and so forth into public accounting. Why not go find another job? Why public accounting?
Well, yeah, if we say it was by accident, that's probably not entirely true. When I was working after I graduated and wanted to become a CPA, or I wanted to have a certification, I was working part-time during tax season for a small CPA firm that just had a few partners. So I would do that at night. I was basically moonlighting on that just to keep to gain skills, to gain the knowledge, and to maintain some relationships there with those people. Those are the people that eventually hired me when I made the sideways move from being the controller, because once you get purchased by a national firm, you lose all the sense of family that's there.
Yeah.
Now we're just somebody else's pawn instead of somebody that feels like you're making a difference in the family business. And that was important to me. I felt like I wanted to have some ownership. I still wanted to have some ability to direct my paths. And I didn't have that working with now a national company, and you're just a small branch of a really big thing. I felt better being like a bigger fish in a small pond. So when I actually had a friend call and say, do you know of any, I'm looking for an internship position. Do you know any CPA firms that are hiring? So I called these guys and they said, no, we don't have that, but we have an opportunity for you. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
So it was, it was by accident that happened. So we talked. I went to work there. Within 3 months. They made me a junior partner at that firm. I stayed there for a few years, and things weren't really working out there. So I left them, kind of went independent for a year, and then met up with the predecessor firm to Anderson Bradshaw and started working there. So I have a lot more experience with the small business. And this brings into what one of our strengths are as Anderson Bradshaw. Where Russ and I came from are from different places. We came from two separate spectrums. There's the very large public accounting, and then there's this very small ma and pa shop.
Yeah.
And when we come together, whenever we have a client that needs the detailed, how do I structure my accounting system to get the stuff that we need? And then what's my overall 30,000 foot view? We have that together, where individually we don't. So that's one of the unique, great things I think about Anderson Bradshaw.
I like that, because you do have, I think, that perspective of what that day-to-day operation needs to look like to actually take care of the accounting needs, but to bring to it that ability to say, big picture, here's what's going on in the accounting. Here's some planning strategies, tax strategies, various things that you can do to actually impact the structure and the valuation of the business. Those are two different things. One's the day-to-day operations, one's big picture exit strategy, and so forth.
That's what the strength is. We get a client in that needs policy, procedure, accounting. Russ Anderson takes that client, and does a fabulous job. If they come in and have a big merger and acquisition or a tax strategy or retirement strategy, then we can handle them from my side. So we can tag team on this, and it becomes a very complementary situation.
I like that. So I'm going to take what Russ just shared, and I'm going to come to you now, Russ, and I'm going to go back to the starting of the business.
Mm-hmm.
You go out, start your own business. You gave us a little bit of an understanding as to why, out of necessity and such.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I'm curious, did you expect to grow, or were you intending to stay that solo entrepreneur CPA just offering accounting services, or did you expect to become a large firm?
I started with the intent that I wanted to grow, but I didn't have an idea of how big this would grow.
Yeah.
And so when I left that larger firm, a number of clients called me after I'd left and said, hey, we want you to do our stuff. So I started picking up these clients here and there and started to grow that way. And then just had an opportunity fall in my lap. A dear friend of mine called and says, I know of a fellow, he was a CPA. He died on April 10th.
Okay.
Terrible time to die for
Horrible
a CPA,
time.
right? And his spouse needed help when kind of gathering all the things and helping get through the end of the season. He asked if I would just help him. So I did. I went down there and helped, finish off the season, and then started looking at the book of business, knowing that she needed to sell that someday, as it had a value, and I offered to buy it. And she got a second opinion on what the value was, and I bought that practice. And so instantly I grew exponentially with the client base that brought in.
So how soon after starting your business did you first acquire that other company?
About a year.
Oh, that's very quick. Yeah. Okay, so now you're acquiring a firm. I'm assuming they had employees, even though the founder had left?
They didn't. It was a sole practitioner.
Okay.
He worked out of his home. Yeah, he worked out. I just bought the list and reached out to the clients, and most of them stayed. Some of them left. But I was still able to handle all that work myself. But then I got to a point where within another couple of months that I couldn't handle all that business. So I had to hire people, and so I had hired an office manager, hired a couple of people out of the University of Utah, their accounting department, just green.
Yeah.
which was great because I had the opportunity to train them exactly what I wanted them to
Mold
do
them,
and
yes.
mold them a little bit. So it worked out really well and grew that practice until we had 5 people, and then merged that practice with 3 other practices at that time back in 2006. And that became Child, Van Wagner and Bradshaw back then.
So this is obviously a pretty aggressive growth strategy, acquiring all these different firms. There are a lot of people that choose to grow their business through traditional marketing and sales manners. There's others that do it through acquisition. You're doing that as you're illustrating it. And this is going to be a question for both of you. I'd like some history as part of the answer, but how do you, Russ, go from running a business, acquiring these firms, having employees, to saying, I'd also like to have partners? How does the partner element come into it versus I just have CPAs working for me, accountants working for me, tax preparers working for me?
Yeah.
What's the distinction in your mind?
It's interesting because I was growing the practice to a point where clients were asking for services that I was not competent. I wasn't qualified to do. Audits, for example. I'm not an auditor, I'm a tax geek. And so I would then refer out to another CPA to do the audit. And so I was doing cross-referral work with 3 other firms at the time. And they were doing the same thing. They were an audit firm, didn't really feel comfortable doing some tax, so they would refer the tax stuff to me. And we were at lunch one day and finally decided, why are we all doing this in 3 different locations with the overhead of 3 offices? Let's just consolidate. And so we started talking about it and decided to merge those 3 practices into a single practice.
Okay.
The answer to your question is, you've got to know your partners, right? It's not just easy to go out and pick somebody off the street and say, hey, you want to be my partner?
Exactly.
I knew 2 of the individuals relatively well, one very well. And we decided that, I knew them and thought it would be a great partnership with them. They knew 2 other people that would also be good partners. And so we just went out on a limb and said, okay, let's put this together into a single firm.
Beautiful. And Russ, you're in a situation where you became a junior partner. What did it mean for you to be on that track, being a junior partner, becoming a partner? That's one of the things I'm trying to identify here is, what's the distinction in your mind between I work for a place versus I'm a partner or becoming partner?
Yeah, and in that situation, it was the junior partner was a title only.
Okay.
It was still an hourly employee with a discretionary bonus. That's how it was structured. There was no equity on there. There was no profit sharing. It was a title. Basically so that the real partners didn't have to sign off on stuff.
Okay.
So here's some responsibility. There's not a lot of pay that goes with it, and I felt like I needed really equity. I wanted something that I could be a part of and kind of direct my own path going forward. That relationship didn't work out, and so I was free when the merger that Russ was talking about took place. I knew one of those partners. He had me be a contract employee for a little while, and then brought me in as a full-time employee when they all got together in 2006. I think by the end of 2006 or the beginning of 2007, they inducted me as a partner. And it seemed like it was going to be a good thing. Yeah. They had a lot of growth. They had a lot of international clients. But I guess the driving thing for me is wanting to be part of the driver of my future. I wanted to have some equity. I wanted to have some upside opportunity,
some say.
Yeah. So and really that's when Russ and I met, was in 2000.
It was Christmas. Yeah, Christmas 2006.
It was January 2006 when we got moved into our office.
Right.
We actually had met each other previous to that in 1997.
1997.
We were on a Boy Scout wood badge course.
Oh.
But we were in different ends of things, and so like you knew the name and you saw a face, but we never spoke. We didn't know each other.
It's fascinating you even remember that.
But it's a weird
Comparing
thing.
notes after the fact, we figured that out.
How funny. Okay. So going back to the merger, so you're bringing in these firms, realizing it would be better to do everything in-house together as a collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm.
How many total partners were initially involved?
6 partners to start with.
Okay.
Then Russ came in, and that was 7.
7. Okay.
And we had, I think we grew at that point. I don't remember how many staff we had. It was in the mid-20s, it seemed like. And then we grew to
up to 50
some
we were
odd
at about
employees.
50 employees at one point.
At one point when we were at the peak of that firm.
Yeah.
And then the economy happened, and people weren't doing the type of work that we were doing. They didn't need the services, and so we were starting to shrink, and brought stuff back from foreign sources, and it became a much more manageable firm at that point.
All right, so here's where I'm just kind of curious. We're just going to see where this conversation goes.
Mm-hmm.
You have those 7 the 7 partners. Let's go to the 7. We're now today 5, correct? 5 partners. Give us kind of an evolution of how did that initial structure start or get defined? What was the definition of a partner? What was it that they were getting as a say in the business, as equity in the business? How was that structured? Just to give somewhat of a context to where we're going to be getting to today.
Well, I think to start with, we each had different ownership percentages based upon the volume of work that was brought to the table.
Okay.
And
that's how that was determined.
That was how it was determined. So
good.
What was your total book of business? We just mulled them together, and that's 20% for you and 10% for you, and so forth.
Good.
But in the management of the practice, we decided that each partner would have a vote. It wasn't based on their percentage. They got 1 vote. So we had 7 votes, and majority ruled on when we were voting on different things. I think the best thing that we did to start is we put together a very well-defined operating agreement for this partnership that was very, very detailed. It talked about if somebody dies, how we buy out their percentage of ownership.
Correct.
Even if somebody did something, a defalcation against a certain law where they were penalized by either the state agency or whomever, what we would do to buy them out, to protect the firm.
Yeah.
It was very detailed. And I think in the long run, it even said, here's some things that you're responsible for, and duties and responsibilities of managers, typical to an operating agreement. But in the long run, we've relied on that operating agreement a number of times to say, okay, this is a tough situation. Here's what the operating agreement says. And it takes all the emotion out of it at that point, right? It's because you're going back to an agreed upon legal document that says, here's how you take those situations into account, and here's how you resolve the issue.
Okay.
So it was very good.
So Russ, as you hear that, when you reflect back on that operating agreement, what were some of the things that you remember as being favorable, things that you were glad were in there that you addressed initially?
Boy, there were some really hard things that were addressed. Like he talked about, what if somebody loses their license? What if they lose their ability to practice? Well, we can't have a partner in that situation. So we talked about what was going to be their buyout formula, and it was pretty punitive in that. Like they're only going to get 50. They're going to get, I think it was 50% of value of what their ownership percentage was. But again, it was designed to protect the firm, and not to favor any individual. And I think that was some of the magic to the partnership agreement. That even when we stopped being that firm and became Anderson Bradshaw, we adopted with very minor changes that same operating agreement. That's what we're carrying forward now.
Okay. Did anyone have key employee insurance?
We had a buy-sell agreement, so insurance funded the buy-sell agreements. We didn't necessarily have key man insurance.
No key man, okay.
But we did have a buy-sell agreement.
Yeah. Well, and we have life insurance policies. There's a life insurance policy on Russ. There's a life insurance policy on me.
Yeah.
And the point of that, the purpose of that is if one of us, something happens to us, if we pass away, then the firm gets this big insurance check that's non-taxable they can buy out, they can pay off our spouse.
To buy out
So,
the
so
shares.
our spouse is okay, and that leaves the remaining partner. When it was just the two of us, it would be, that means that I don't have to be a partner with his spouse. He doesn't have to be a partner with my spouse.
Exactly.
And again, it was protecting the business while also protecting our families
Yeah.
if something happens. So that life insurance policy, those policies are still in effect.
Good. Okay. And then the operating procedures as they were initially set up, was there anything over the years that you've recognized you missed that you wish would have been included in those documents?
I can't think of anything offhand.
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'd
Okay,
say probably
good.
not. I think it was
Because
a pretty comprehensive document.
Just in the last year, okay, we were having a hard time finding employees, finding people to do work.
Yeah.
And we had some opportunities of a couple of guys who had been partners in firms bigger than us, and they found themselves unemployed looking for another opportunity. So last busy season, we brought both of them on. We worked with them, so we got to know them a little bit. And then in October, we admitted them and another employee that had been with us for a few years as partners.
Wonderful.
And as part of that procedure, it's here's our operating agreement. Here's how we've done things. Are you going to be okay with that? We know a little bit about how you work, and we think we're going to be okay with you. And again, we're looking, when we do this, we're looking for people that, I don't want a duplicate of me. And Russ doesn't want a duplicate of him as partners. We want people that have strengths in areas where we don't have strengths in, because then we become complementary or supplementary in our partnership rather than overlapping competitors. I've been in partnerships before where it was a partnership where we had the four main partners and the three junior partners. Well, the four partners were really competitors with a cost-sharing arrangement. And that, when you're working in that kind of environment, it's like, well, which partner do you work for?
Yeah.
Instead of working for the firm. And in Anderson Bradshaw, we look at it more as a firm. We were, yesterday we spent a couple hours working on a project for a client, and it's not his client and it's not my client, it's a firm client.
Correct.
And it took both of us to get to the answer. We're not quite to the answer yet because we've got to run it by the client and see what they think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes both of us. So to have a partner where you have to rely on somebody else is different than having one where you want to rely on somebody else and feel comfortable relying on that other person. So that there's we're looking at this in the example that we're looking at yesterday. We're both looking at it from different points. I'm looking at it from, this is what QuickBooks shows. This is what the nuts and bolts say. And he's looking at it from, well, this is what the strategy was. Did we fulfill the strategy? And trying to bring those together, it took both of us to do that.
I love this. This is wonderful because I like the complementary explanation of how the partners are each coming in with skills that supplement one another, is how you're describing your firm's establishment. So when you're talking about responsibilities in your firm, how do you delegate or put out the marketing, the sales, the fulfillment, the client management and relationships? Are those delegated at the partnership level? Is the firm looking at it that way, or is it delegated down to the employees?
I think it starts at the partner level.
Okay.
We again, going back to the skill set of each partner, we want to complement, we want to utilize their strengths. My strength is not policy, procedure, and perhaps management of firm level.
Okay.
Mine's probably on the marketing side. And so I'm in charge of marketing and growth and whatnot. Russ's clear strengths are policy, procedure, management. And so he has that responsibility. And that's the beautiful thing about the partnership, is that even though I might be driving a lot of growth, he still has a clear responsibility and an important responsibility that complements mine, so that we share profits alike. Right? So it doesn't matter that I'm pushing growth, he's pushing management, and that's as important as growth. If you can't manage the firm and you're still growing, you're going to have a train wreck. And so we've decided it's a straight partnership. We don't in a disproportionately benefit from one growth and one non-growth partner. It's just everybody shares in the partnership.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is it is a business. You're business owners, and
Right.
you're running it as a business. It just so happens to be it's an accounting business.
Right.
So that's really good, and you're playing to your strengths as well. It's that cooperative type thing. You're identifying what one is able to do and what they enjoy doing, and you're able to leverage that. So it's really important. So I'm going to now go to, and this is perhaps for the audience sake, what advice would you have for someone as they're considering bringing in a partner, maybe going back to the days of when you were starting the business, or maybe some advice to what are some of the things that you've found that's been helpful over the years to remain partners and remain sane and run the business in an intelligent way. What would your thoughts be to that, Russ?
Boy, in looking for a partner, you're almost entering into a marriage relationship with this. I mean, you've got to have absolute trust with your partner. If you're in with a partner that you can't trust, you're going to spend your time protecting the business from the partners. And I've been in positions where I spent more effort protecting the firm from the partners than I did, managing or growing or anything else. And that's just that's a hard way to live life, because you're shrouded with distrust. We got to. So in selecting partners, there's things you have to be able to trust them. You have to trust their work product, and you have to trust that they have something. They've got some strengths that you don't have. So we don't talk about weaknesses. I mean, he talks about marketing being his strength. Okay, if I have a weakness, it's marketing. It's that. I'm just not the marketer. My personality doesn't line up with that. Where I grew up in the family business, I detest salespeople. And if anybody was a salesperson, I have immediate distrust. And I don't want to put myself as a salespeople, because then I have this internal hate relationship going on, and I don't really want to live that way. So we don't talk about our weaknesses. We just play to each other's strengths. We know what I'm good at. We know what Russ is good at. And they don't have to be the same thing. If there is some overlap, it's good, because we are accountants, and we are tax people, and we do have financial statement preparation and things, and we both have to be competent in that generally. But when you talk about specifics and specialization, when we have somebody come in as a new partner, you want to be confident that they have a specialty that you don't have. Because that way you can rely on each other and again continue to play to each other's strengths, instead of being worried about, well, let's talk about your flaws now. Well, I don't want to talk about my flaws. I don't want to spend my time in that negative area. I want to spend all of my time doing the things that I'm good at. And I want Russ to spend all of his time on the things that he's good at. And if there's things that are not getting done, well, let's hire somebody that's going to do those things.
Well said.
And let's have a new partner that can be responsible and do those things that we're not able to do.
Good. Russ, what would you add to that?
Not much. I mean, it's well said. We need to play to our strengths. That's the whole point of a growing dynamic partnership, is you play to your strengths. You try to mitigate your weaknesses. And perhaps that's bringing in a partner that, like Russ said, that will do the things that we're not good at. And so you've got to be selective of who you bring in as a partner. And I think in addition, you need to get to know their personalities. How are they going to tick? What's going to, when things are really intense, and this is a deadline-driven firm and a deadline-driven environment. How are they going to, when it's really intense and the deadlines are there, how are they going to react? Are they going to melt down, or are they just going to just get in and start working and still in that environment when it's intense, be pleasant and be happy and motivate the staff to move on.
Yeah, that goes to culture and basically that collaborative work environment. Yeah, I like that. You've mentioned that you've recently taken an employee who's been with the company for a while and given them the opportunity to become a partner. What is the path to partnership? Initially, it was you had firms, they had a book of business, they had revenue, and as a percent, that's what they then acquired as partners. But if somebody's coming in, as you were describing, and they're being brought in and given the opportunity to come in, is there a buy-in that they're paying to acquire the equity? Is there a path to that partnership level? Tell us about that ability to become and what that looks like. How do you give someone that equity?
So historically, when in 2006, when the multiple firms got together and I came in as an employee, I did not have a book of business that I brought with me.
Okay.
I had to become partner by buying in.
Yes.
So I paid cash to get a percentage, and then to increase my percentage. When I wanted to increase my percentage, there was a partner that had like a 31%, and he was okay to drop down to 25 or whatever. He offered me to buy his. Well, I bought it at a percentage was based on the gross billings of the firm. So I paid kind of a premium to buy shares from him to increase my ownership percentage.
I like that.
So that eliminates I have to be a salesman in order to be a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Our new partners that just came in, they got some credit for book of business that they brought in, but primarily it's a cash buy-in over time.
Okay, so there's an overtime component.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a kind of a financed arrangement. We set a purchase price or we set a buy-in price, and we have a payback period. And their hope is that they can make those payments all out of their share of profits of the company.
Yeah.
That's what the hope is for them.
And for the employee, also just a buy-in.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you hire someone, Russ, is anyone told up front that there's a path to partnership, or is this a unique experience for someone that was with the company for a period of time that you then considered and offered it?
In this one case, he'd been with the firm for 3 years, but we gave him credit for his experience as a CPA prior to joining the firm.
Okay.
So typically that path to partner might be anywhere from 8 to 12 years. From first hiring as a junior accountant to partner, it's a fairly lengthy period of time.
Process, yeah.
And you have to show that you're competent. You know, the first thing is, do you have a skill set and are you competent? And then do you fit in the culture of the firm and other things? But when it's determined, they're good, and now we want to keep them because they are so good, then we offer them an opportunity to buy in. We might even offer them a small percentage as a bonus to stay on, and then they buy the rest in. So it's there's a variety of ways that a person can join the partnership.
Okay, good. So Russ, question for you about the whole idea of the firm partnership. Is there a myth about being partner, something that people presume that may or may not be true about what it is you are as a partner?
Yeah, the myth I hear all the time is you're your own boss. As a partner, I have 1,000 bosses. I am not my own boss. I get to manage my own workload, or I get to prioritize, my own workload. But I think that's the one myth when people want to be a partner so they can be their own boss.
The office manager seems to be the boss, right? She's the one that sets our schedules, and we just march to that tune. We had to look at our schedule and see what's going on. And it was all set up by the office manager.
Exactly. So I know exactly what you're referring to. Okay. What advice, Russ, would you have for someone wanting to become partner or who is a partner of a firm
if they want to become a partner, they need to put in the time necessary to build their skill set, to become legendary, if you will. They need to have the skill set that the other partners are going to want to bring that person on. That's going to take time and study and just focus on your own skill set. And sometimes that might not be paid for by the firm. Our firm, we encourage them to spend a half an hour a day, and that's part of their work for the day is to study.
Mm-hmm.
Study a topic, whatever you want to do. And here's a bunch of topics that you can study if you want. But the more their brain power grows, the more valuable they are to us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they've got to realize if they want to hit partner, they need to build that skill set. And so spending time on their own outside of firm time is a great way to build their own skill set. There's not enough time when they join the firm to just study and build that skill set. They've got to do that outside the firm and do some study on their own.
Perfect. Russ, what lesson have you learned being a partner for these many years? You've been a partner, you've interacted with one another. What's a lesson that you've learned that has been valuable to you?
Having a place where I can contribute. I can contribute my skills and my efforts and be respected for it. That's probably more important to me than the compensation aspect of it. But the lesson would be, when things are good, and it's good for all of us. It's either good for all of us together or it's not good for all of us together. But we've had a cohesion. We've been Anderson Bradshaw for we just celebrated 10 years in August.
Congratulations.
And I don't remember a single disagreement. We have difference of opinions at a time, but there's never been any contention in that whole 10 years. It's been really good. So partnering up with the right individuals in the right circumstances can make your life really pleasant. Or if you partner up with the wrong people and your visions aren't aligned, life is too short to live in that type of a situation. So that would be my lesson. There are partnerships when you realize that they're bad, it's time to get out because life is too short to continue that way.
Good point. Yeah. I think that comes with age too. You kind of learn that. Yeah. So Russ, this might be maybe a transition in a little bit more personal type things, but going back to starting your business, what was it like for your family, for your wife to kind of have you go that direction? What kind of support came from that? What was that experience like on the home front?
Early on when I was just coming out of school, we, lack of knowledge is bliss, right? You just don't know what you're getting into. Once we were getting into it and it became very, time intensive and, I have the most incredible wife that's just very supportive, kind of saw that this was going to be a lot of work for both of us. She was working part-time at the time and we just had to support each other. We had to work out schedules and her schedule was busy. Her schedule was night shift and mine was day shift. 2 ships passing in the night, you hardly see each other. But she is an amazing person, and that's perhaps the power that is kind of the secret sauce of being able to do that. As we merged the firm and got bigger and grow, it became more intensive, and she's got more responsibility at home, and that's what our decision was at the time. And it worked out well. And, we just try to communicate and just stay on the same page. And there's the things that we've got to work out together on schedules to make sure that if there's a t-ball game or a piano recital, okay, let's just make sure. And the nice thing about it, when I had my own firm, then I could set that schedule. I could tell my office manager, I'm not taking appointments during this time. And I could break away. That was nice, but it was still intense and long hours, and we had to work together, and she's just been amazing.
Wonderful. I think a lot of people experience success when they have that kind of a support system behind them, because it allows them to push through some of the hard times. So, Russ, in your case, it was going from the family business, your spouse has seen you then get into the public and buy into a firm to become a partner. Do you recall any thoughts or emotions regarding her experience with that?
Well, with the family business, I was spending a lot of time doing the family business, so it wasn't really a bigger time commitment to go into to move to the CPA firm, that first one. I probably shouldn't say this, but one of the, you said be real, so this is real. There was emotions. To me, it was emotions, because I'm leaving a brother, I'm leaving cousins, I'm leaving people that have been employees of the business. I mean, we grew up together for 20 years, and I left that to go to this unknown realm.
Correct.
It had to be, but I got home and explained that to my wife, and her question was, "What's the health insurance like?" And
I've had that same question, so I get it.
To me, it's like, for me, this is a big life change event. This is a huge, changing that, not just changing employers, but changing the whole focus of what I'm going to be doing for my life, to make that kind of a pivot at that point, and to feel, what's the health insurance benefits there? And that was her concern. I felt like I'm alone. I'm alone in this whole decision, and I just had to, you just work through it.
Yeah.
You work through it and say, well, I'm going to be alone, but still, when there's successes and failures, you share those at home and such. But that was like a kick in the gut initially to me, or that's how I felt.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't that, and her concern, truly, the concern is for the family, for the kids, and how is this going to affect all of us? And I'm just reeling in this separation from extended family, basically, on that.
Very emotional decision.
It was a big, it was a big change. It was a big emotional thing. It's not just, in accounting, we like to take the emotion out of everything. That's what we try to do with accounting. But there's times when these are life-altering kind of decisions. And like Russ said, you need that support from family. You need people behind you when you're doing that. Because being a partner somewhere is a life commitment, or it takes a big chunk of who you are, your time, your emotions, your efforts, your mental focus. It takes all of that to be good at it.
And as partner, you're also liable for some of the risks. So there's a downside to it. On your point of the emotion, one, thank you for sharing that. The emotion of leaving a family business, people that you're probably with more than you are at home. So you're leaving what you're familiar with and comfortable with. But there's that family component that makes it even more of a betrayal that you're leaving that. But to come home and share her perspective of the change. What about the health insurance? It reminds me of a conversation I've had on occasion with my own wife, which is I learned very quickly I shouldn't be using in these explanations the word opportunity. Whenever I brought up the word opportunity, she was like, opportunity doesn't pay the bills. That's great. You think this is going to go somewhere. That's wonderful that you're excited about it, but don't tell me there's an opportunity here. Tell me how you're going to pay the bills. Tell me. And so I quickly learned in my youth, I don't couch things as to opportunity. So I had to figure out a different way of explaining the potential and the upside and where this could lead, because opportunity was just, she couldn't pay the bills with the opportunity. And she was trusting I was going to do what was right, but that was too ethereal for her. She just couldn't wrap her head around an opportunity. So that was a big challenge for her.
Roger, a future interesting podcast might be bringing spouses of partners in and giving their perspective on what that looked like.
That would, I'm adding that one to the list. I just need to find the spouse now that's going to come in.
You'd hear a completely different perspective than what I just gave a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. That's an excellent perspective, and I'm taking note of it. That's wonderful. All right, so that actually does lead me to the next thing. Looking back, what do you think your spouses, your children have learned from you as you've taken these risks taken advantage of these opportunities, grown the business. It's a large firm. It's a national firm, something to be proud of. What do you feel, Russ, that you hope your children have learned from all of this?
Well, I think they've seen the hard work that's gone into it. You know, they see that there are long hours. They've been patient enough. My kids have been patient enough. But I think they've also learned that family is first. That when there's something going on with family, when we have that culture in our firm, there's something going on with family, take care of the family, and then the firm will be fine. And that, I think they'll have learned that from our experience. And so they learn a good work ethic. All of my kids are successful in their own right. They've learned a good work ethic. They've seen that. They've seen their mom filling in and doing that as well with a good work ethic. And the working together, I think they've seen that as well. So they're all doing very well.
Very good. Russ, what would you add to that? What do you think your family, your children have learned from you watching you go through this over these years?
I think that it's okay to start a business and do it with spousal and family support and try to make things work. My son several years ago decided he loves Lego. He grew up playing Lego and he wanted to be in a Lego business. So he did some study. He and his wife went together and they studied a franchise and bought into a franchise, and they're operating a buy and sell Lego store just in South Jordan here. To me, it's not hugely financially successful, but for them it's gratifying. It's fulfilling. It's living their dream, and going after the opportunity. There could be an opportunity here, but still, how are you going to pay the bills? So, I mean, the store doesn't support them fully. So he's employed elsewhere, and she's employed elsewhere, but it's okay to work more than 40 hours a week. The work ethic that Russ talked about, I think that my children have that. And I think they gained the desire for ownership and directing their own path. They somehow inherited that from me, and then they're going to work this business, and they're going to work, and they're going to make it work. They're going to make it succeed.
I like that. You know, as a parent as well, I'm amazed as my children have gotten older, what they have learned through just watching. I'm grateful that they are who they are, but I'm optimistic that I had some positive influence on their work ethic, like you've mentioned, and just that desire to go out there and get things done. So I'm happy to hear that from both of you. What's one of the misunderstood things about what it is you do? When people consider that you're running an accounting firm, you're a partner, what do you think one of the misunderstandings is of what you do for a living?
Oh boy, we're referred to as bean counters from time to time. We don't really count beans. And I think people think of accounting as, oh, you must be really good at math. Well, yeah, I was Sterling Scholar in math in my high school, but accounting and math are not that closely related. Order and accounting are closely related. And there is a lot more reading and communication and writing skills required than there are really math skills. But really, for an accountant, it's the ability to put things in order, to put things in boxes that make sense. And we're always looking for something that is right, even though that perfection is not to be attained. The cost of perfection is way too high.
Yeah.
It's infinity, actually, and we can't achieve perfection. But yeah, I think that's one of the things is that you must be really good at math if you're an accountant. Well, math is part of it, but that's not the main thing.
Very true. Good. Russ, what do you think is a misunderstanding about what it is you do for a living?
Some people think I'm just a tax collector. That's the furthest thing from the truth. I'm on the taxpayer's side. They hire us to help them solve a problem, mitigate taxes. And I think one of the myths is that, we can change the past and get a different answer. No, the past is closed.
Yeah.
The past is defined already. It's in the books, it's closed. And we have to report what the history was accurately and ethically. But we can also change the path of the future. If we want a certain outcome, we can plan and strategize for the future. I think that's the biggest misnomer that we have, is we can't change the future. Well, yeah, we can. We can change the facts, buy, sell, invest, do all kinds of things that will change the outcome of their taxes in the future. But it's really hard to change the past. It's almost impossible.
Yeah. Excellent. I love that. Okay. Russ, share with me someone that was influential in your career, in your life, someone that you really felt impacted who you are and what you've become, and why.
Take me back to that. You take me back to high school.
Good.
I had a couple of teachers that were very influential. One of them was a band instructor. The band instructor's name was Roger Knecht, and he had a way of making you do more than you could do. All right, I don't know what he saw in me, but he invited me one year to learn to play the tuba. Okay, I wanted to play the bass guitar.
Okay.
But he said, we already have a bass guitar player, but he's graduating this year. So why don't you learn to play the tuba this year? And then that'll keep you here. And then you can be the bass guitar guy next year. And he just, he inspired me to do that by asking me to do things. He can't get fired from that job now because he doesn't do that. But he gave me a key to the auditorium and says, there'll be days when I'm not here on time to start pep band practice.
Uh-huh.
Here, you open it up for people, but don't tell anybody because I'll lose my job. He trusted me. We had a band trip to California. We're in California, and he had me driving his van through the streets of California to get to the venue. He trusted, and by knowing that he was trusting me this way,
uh-huh.
I could not fail. I could not let him down. I had a math teacher that was similar to that. Ken Crookston was, I took all of the classes, all the math classes that the high school offered, and there was still a year left. And he said, well, sign up as my TA and we'll do this additional calculus thing. And,
Wow.
and it was like a one-on-one
Wow.
math class for me. So I had these two high school teachers that were, they were just phenomenal. And that affected who I am at the very core.
I really loved you sharing that. I think it's great that we can go back to just our school days of youth and acknowledge those people that gave so much and really shaped us in some ways as to who we are. It brought to my memory a debate teacher I had, Mr. Ochoa, and I have a great deal of respect for him helping me see, because at the time I was very opinionated. I mean, an opinionated youth, imagine that. Very opinionated, but he was able to show me the other side and help me through debate realize there were two opinions and I needed to understand both sides of the coin. And that was huge. That's impacted me the rest of my life. I had an AP government teacher that I just thought she was incredible, and how she brought to life so much of the founding of the country and so forth. That I, like you, have a number of teachers that really, I think, impacted who I am, what I love, my character. So that was very nice. Russ, what comes to your mind?
Two, actually, similar experience, a high school teacher. I was kind of a freak of nature, I think, as I knew I wanted to be an accountant when I was in high school.
Very good.
And as a sophomore in high school, Susan Chadwick was one of the accounting teachers, and she just had the ability to inspire not only me, but the entire class. And there's a number of people that I know in the Utah area that are, accountants that came out of that same Sue Chadwick class of accounting.
Fascinating.
When I was a senior, I'd taken all the business and accounting classes. So she got a college text from the University of Utah, and it was just a one-on-one. It was our class together, and we went through a college accounting text together. And she was phenomenal, very kind. And second person is my father. I saw him go through some very difficult business decisions that impacted not only his life but his family, and he was always found on the right side of the decision.
Wow.
And that has inspired me. We've been through some tough things in the past, both in my personal life and the business, and just reflecting back on the fact that, yep, I saw how Dad handled those things, and I've been able to get through a lot of things the same way, relying on the fact that I learned from a very wise mentor in my father.
That is awesome. I have a great deal of esteem for my own father as well. Parenting is a big deal.
Yeah.
On that note, you brought up failures.
Mm-hmm.
Share with us a failure and what lesson you learned from that.
Business, personal, or
Either.
doesn't matter. A failure, things that I would do over again.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't wait as long. When we had a partner or two that just weren't up to meeting the expectation of the partner group, I think I would probably not wait so long, hoping that we could help them change, help them come to the table, help them do things. I probably wouldn't wait so long in having the difficult decision to sit with them and say, it's not working out. It would have cut a lot of angst on the rest of the partner group to do that. That's probably one thing I would have done different.
Makes sense. Sometimes we are slow to act.
Yeah.
That is true. Very true.
Perhaps some compassion in that, but at the same time, compassion sometimes is hard to do in a business setting.
Yeah. Good. Russ, failure.
Oh boy, yeah, we don't like to talk about those. I think of one particular decision that cost our firm like over $1 million. I could have stood up and said, no, we're not going to do this, because the majority said, yeah, we're going to do this and you're going to be in charge of it. And it was destined to fail. Didn't realize until later that it was destined to fail. But rather than stand up and say, no, we shouldn't do this, I went with the majority and allowed it to happen.
What was the lesson?
The lesson is stand up. If you're putting your name on something and you're not sure your name should be on it, hold off. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Good advice. I like that. That's going to take us to the next thing that I'd like to do. This is kind of a off the wall kind of a discussion. So we're just going to have a little bit more fun now.
Okay.
If you could live anywhere in the world, Russ, where would it be and why?
Norway.
Oh, why?
My wife's heritage is from Norway, and
Okay.
we've had an opportunity to travel there. It's just an absolutely gorgeous country. We've traveled from the south all the way, not quite all the way north, but mostly north. And it's a beautiful country, beautiful people, and we love going to Norway.
Fascinating. You know, a good portion of my heritage is I'm Norwegian.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's
You snackar norsk?
No. Can't speak a lick of it. Nice try, though. But no, I am Norwegian by a good portion of my heritage.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, that's very impressive. Okay. Where would you like to live?
Well, it's tax season right now. I just want to live. The where's not even the thing. I talked about this with my wife recently, and can't think of a place that would be better than where we are, because we're close to most of the grandkids, and the family is here. We have to endure this nasty weather from time to time, but I think it's not where we live, but who we are is kind of what our focus is.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for you.
Well, I'm going to actually join with you.
Nothing exotic there.
I'm partial to Utah with all my travels, both domestic, international. I just came back from Costa Rica. I have to tell you, I love coming home. Utah's amazing. I love the distinct 4 seasons. We're doing this obviously in the dead of winter, and I love the contrast. I was literally last week on a beach, and a week before that I was out snowmobiling. So I mean, I'm partial to
Yeah.
both sides, so I'm happy to do either. That's fine.
Agreed.
What's your favorite trip you've ever taken, and where was it? Why was it your favorite?
I'm going to say it was just this last summer. We had 14 of our family members go on a trip to Norway.
Beautiful.
Okay. It was 2.5 weeks, and we started in Copenhagen, went up to Norway. My wife still has family in Norway, so we made a family reunion of it and visited
nice.
the aunts and uncles and cousins.
And you speak Norwegian.
She does. I fake it really well.
You fake it really well.
As you noticed a few minutes ago. It's a real good fake. But then sent the majority of the kids home, and then my wife and I just stayed in Norway for another 5 or 6 days and just enjoyed some places we'd never been before. So,
very good. And is she Norwegian?
Her parents
are Norwegian.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right.
She was born here.
I like that. And?
Okay, let's see. Favorite trip. We are motorcyclists.
I know you're a Harley guy.
No. Fern and I ride BMW touring bikes.
I totally thought it was a Harley. Okay,
Yeah,
BMWs
we are
then.
both big BMW bike riders, and we have some friends that we travel with. A couple of years ago in the summer, we rode went through Glacier National Park,
Beautiful.
and then up into Waterton, up into Canada, up further north, up into the Columbia ice fields. And we had to turn around when it was snowing on us and kind of retreat a little bit. But we like riding the motorcycles and camping in hotels and seeing all that there is to see out there. So, but that trip up into Canada was a favorite for us.
Okay, so a few questions. One, you said camping, hotels. So do you camp?
We
or
don't
do you
camp.
do hotel?
We don't camp.
Okay, that's what
when
I
we're
wondered.
when we're on the motorcycles, we stay in hotels.
Okay, and then do you book hotels and go destination to destination, or do you fly by the seat of your pants and find one when you get to a destination?
We like the assurance of having a place that's waiting for us.
Gotcha.
So we book all of our hotels in advance. Sometimes that means you don't get there till 11 o'clock at night.
Of course.
But because you calculated how far you could ride,
Yeah.
or you overcalculated
Yeah.
or overestimated
Or
how
you
far
stop
you
and
could
look
go
at the
on a
sights
day.
along the
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
But yeah, we like to have a destination that's waiting for us. I think that's part of my accounting. I like to know that things are orderly.
There's a few things that are certain.
And to speak to that, this is way off topic, but we were in Beaverton, Colorado, or Beaverton, Oregon,
Okay.
checking into a hotel, and we knew what we'd paid for, and the people ahead of us had not made a reservation, and they were going to pay double what we'd paid because they hadn't made a reservation.
Yeah.
And I think, well, there's probably some good in knowing what you're paying before you go.
100%.
You have the confidence of knowing there's a place that's going to open their doors to you, and you're not looking around while you're there. Because when we're on the motorcycles, you can't just pick up your phone and start you can't make calls. When we're driving, she can pull out her phone and she can arrange things while we're driving, but we're on the bikes. We can't do that.
Yeah. That's a testament to, I think, a good deal of research and planning. It pays off.
Yeah,
it does. All right, good. This is fun. I'm liking this. Let's go to the next thing. This is going to be a little bit different as well. I'm going to basically wrap up by asking you a few just simple questions. Give me a book you're either reading or a book you'd recommend.
Book I'd recommend. A book called Traction.
Okay, and why is that?
It's talking about business management, SEO type stuff that, just not search engine optimization, but how to maximize and how to stay on task.
Okay.
It's a book that's sitting on my desk, and I'm partway through it right now. Great book.
Good. Russ, do you have a book you'd recommend? Or
Trying to think right now. One that I remember having read. There was a time when we all were required to read Crucial Conversations.
That was a good book.
And then we had a partner and staff meeting after that. And by going through the exercises in that, we learned a lot more about our partners than we ever knew before. We knew who they really were, and that we didn't want to be partners anymore.
And what was one of the learnings or takeaways from the book?
It's Crucial Conversations. It's don't be afraid to talk about the hard things, and let's create a safe haven,
place,
if you will, that you can say anything you want in this meeting, and we're not going to take it personally. We're not going to be offended by it. We're going to be able to share anything in safety. And there are certain groups where you just really can't do that. You can think you are, you can think you can, but then the emotions take over and people get offended and don't like what's being said and such. But it's the takeaway there is create a safe environment where, as managers, we need to be able to listen to people's suggestions. We need to be able to listen to their input and not take offense at, well, if you said we need to change this, you just accused me of doing it wrong for my whole life. Mm-hmm. We need to be able to separate those things and just be able to listen and learn and absorb those, because we can become better, mm-hmm. even though we haven't been perfect in the past, and none of us have. But if we're going to be better, we need to be able to listen to other people's perspectives, and we need to create an opening, listening environment.
I like that. I like that a lot. I do feel that having a safe environment is helpful for a conversation. People do need to feel that they can be open and transparent and not be judged. So that's a very big thing, personally and professionally. So I like that.
That book also tells you how to set up the tone and have that conversation so it's not offensive.
Oh, excellent.
Great
okay,
book.
Good. All right. Movies. I'm going to ask a favorite movie. Give me what your favorite movie is, and you give me up to 3. So, Russ, do you have any favorite movies?
I'm not a moviegoer, so let's see here. Mission Impossible one comes to mind. Is it Hanging on a Cliff? I don't remember what the name was. A Tom Cruise movie. It's probably the last one I've seen. It was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So
that one's up there for you.
That one's up there for, Les Mis, even though it's a play, the movie, the Broadway play that's now a movie.
The Hugh Jackman one?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That was good.
I really do like that one as well.
God, that's about all I can come up with.
Okay, that's good. Russ, how about you?
Not been to a movie theater in years, but there's a couple of movies that I could watch. One of them would be Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Oh boy, I haven't seen that in forever.
And the other one would be Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah. Emperor's New Groove. That's a good one.
That's a classic.
All right. Good. All right. So I'm going to go to the next thing here, and this one's going to be a little bit deeper. I just want to see which of these you'd like to bring up. I'm going to just throw out a topic, and you're going to pick which one you'd like to just maybe dwell on for a moment. Faith, music, family, or workaholic versus balanced life. Any of those topics resonate with either of you?
Oh, faith always resonates with me. So
what would you like to say about faith and perhaps how it applies here?
Faith in my work and in my family is not only a motivator, it's a great way to get through difficult times. My faith gives me great hope that I have a Heavenly Father that has my best interest at heart. And so I know that He's going to make sure that doors open for me that are there, and that I need to step through doors sometimes, even though that might be difficult to do.
Yeah.
Setting up a new firm wasn't an easy task, but it was a necessary task, and it turned out to be a great blessing.
Yeah.
And so faith to me is huge.
I appreciate that. Having faith, hope, you're stepping out into the unknown, and it's nice to know that there's someone that's there that has your best interests at heart.
Right.
That if you're feeling impressed and kind of inspired to do certain things, it's believing that it's for the better. Mm-hmm. I like that. I also like faith because I think it holds us accountable.
Sure.
It keeps us, I think, a little bit more honest with ourselves, believing that mm-hmm. there's some accountability that's going to be asked for at some point. And mm-hmm. so I think I'm more honest, more clear in what it is I'm doing with my fellow man. So
sure.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm going to tie that in with our work-life balance, or the workaholic versus balanced life.
Okay.
I remember there was a time when I was talking with Russ, and this has been, I think, before we were Anderson Bradshaw. I mentioned to him that, we do this for that. We don't do that for this. We come to work so that we can do these other things. We come to work so that we can exercise our faith and be participants in that outside of there. We don't do that so that it allows us to work.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, well, when he has a Tuesday night meeting and we're not working late, and I have Tuesday night meetings and I have Wednesday night meetings, and we can't work late on those nights. We understand that, and we don't require people to be here when they have the outside obligations,
Yeah.
which are and those are faith imposed or religion imposed. And I'm in a situation now where I have to be gone for funerals frequently.
Uh-huh.
I was gone for a day and a half last week. Not a good time of the year. I have another one that's probably coming up soon. And we just understand that when you need to be doing that, that's what's really important. And the business is secondary to your responsibilities with your faith and your family.
I appreciate that. As you were sharing that, there's a phrase, you either work to live or you live to work. And it's nice to work to live. And part of who you've defined yourself as is part of that service and your faith, and finding the time to be able to then accommodate and work that in is very important, because you don't want the work to dominate everything about your life. You've got your road trips with the BMX bikes, BMW bikes, and I don't know why I said BMX. Well, that took me back. It was that high school discussion earlier. But the BMW bikes, you've got priorities. You just cannot work all the time. So I like that. All right, so I'm going to do now a rapid fire thing. This is going to be kind of fun. I'm going to say something, and I'm just going to have you both give a quick answer, and then we're going to go to the next one. So it'll be real simple and easy. I'm going to start with you, Russ, and then you go to you. Okay. So first of all, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
I'd say Star Wars.
Money or fame?
Money.
Money.
Read a book or watch a movie?
Read a book.
Same.
If you said otherwise, I would have called you on it. Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
Introvert.
Very good. All right. Disneyland or Disney World?
Neither.
Neither. Gotcha.
Yeah. Boy, it's been 23 years since I've been to either one of them, so they're not.
I'm going to say neither for either, both of you. Okay. All right. Drive or fly?
Fly.
How far are we going? I'll be probably driving.
Okay. And then breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast.
I'm going to say dinner.
Interesting. I like a good breakfast at dinner.
That's right.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'm going to come back to each of you for a closing thought, just some good words of wisdom here. So let me just say a few things, and then I'm going to come back to each of you. As for you as listeners to the podcast, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is, first of all, take advantage of an opportunity that you can find in the episode description. In the episode description, you're going to find information on various things that you can use as training for your staff to actually take those individuals in your office that have proven themselves to be loyal, to be curious, that need to actually step up their game within the firm and help them either get the skills related to, let's say, bookkeeping, tax preparation, perhaps it's something related to CFO and advisory services, basically giving them the skills, the competence, the certification to go out and provide those services competently, and obviously bring in additional revenue streams to your firm. And more importantly, give them the commitment that you're bringing that shows that you're committed to them as an employee. Those things are available in the episode description. So go there to learn what you can be doing to offer your firm to actually have on staff professional bookkeepers, professional tax preparers, QuickBooks specialists, and so much more. In addition to that, I also want to encourage you to like and subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't already, definitely do so. Each and every week, we come out with new episodes to actually empower you with the information you need to work on your business, to in fact have the premier accounting firm in your area. So with that, definitely make sure you go in, subscribe to, set your reminders, follow us, and in doing so, feel free to leave us some comments and feedback. We always love the suggestions that you have as our listeners to what it is you'd like to hear on the show. In addition to that, I'd like to just kind of give a quick summary. This episode has been amazing. One of my hopes was to actually talk about having a firm and being partners. And I think we've easily accomplished a lot of those questions by addressing how do you start the firm, the operating procedures that were necessary to have something in place to address some of the situations that would come up. We talked about the importance of finding complementary strengths that allow us to actually work together and delegate, really play to our strengths as individuals, as experts in the accounting sphere. The other thing that I liked about the whole conversation today is we did talk about the personal side of things. It's not enough to just have a business and have a pathway for people to become partners, it's realizing that we're going to be working together. We're going to have hard decisions that need to be made. And both Russes were able to help articulate that. And I really appreciated them sharing those insights and that perspective. What you have as a firm is amazing. I'm familiar with what you guys do. I've had the privilege of working with you. And in doing so, I just am very impressed with what you've been able to accomplish and applaud you for what you're doing. As for the summary, one of the things that I also want to point out is very personable. Each of them shared some very important things about their families, about childhood, and I think that's really a character development of each of us. We're so much as to what makes us up as to professionals and persons, and you demonstrated that today. So let me just get a closing thought. Russ, what would you like to say as a recap?
Just a recap: be careful in the partners that you choose. Once you choose them, embrace your strengths. And really, the thing is to play to your strengths and supplement your weaknesses with other people of high integrity that will do that, and you'll be better off.
Very good. Russ.
How important is, and we've talked about partnerships today, what really comes forefront to me is how important partners are. To have partners you can trust, partners that you can be friends with, and again, like Russ said, playing to your strengths and making sure that we're maximizing everything that we can do. Partnerships are great when the partners are great.
I like it. Yeah, it's a people business, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. Definitely need good partners, need good operating procedures to fall back on. All that's in place, and I like it. Well, definitely enjoyed today's episode. This was something that I was looking forward to, and I hope you found that it was as beneficial to you as it was to me, because I learned a few things today that I'll be taking to my own business, and that's important. The other thing I'd like to do is also encourage you to find out about GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual event that we put on for owners of accounting firms. It's a conference to help you as the owner of the firm hear from the experts, meet with your peers, learn what it is that you can be doing to work on your business. And so I invite you to actually sign up for and join us in May for GrowCon. That is an event you do not want to miss. In addition to that, if you'd like to find out more about additional free resources that we offer here at Universal Accounting Center, go ahead to the episode description and you'll find there a link to the various free resources that are available to help you work on your business. And as well, if you'd like to apply these principles or discuss this further, feel free to reach out to us. You can visit us online at universalaccountingschool.com, or you can give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. And always remember this: if it's about accounting, it is Universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there.